Hello, all.
My goodness.
I see everyone is still alive. I thought something would have happened to you on Friday, that you would have been defeated, but I see you have all survived and you're still kicking.
Jesus, I love you so much. What is? Oh, sir,
Hmm?
I sent you an email and you did not respond.
I think I did I see it? I think I probably saw it.
Sir, is the email about laptop choices.
Oh, hold on, somebody else.
Sir, I need a response. I need a response.
All right.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Lord have
Um.
mercy. Yes, sir.
Okay, no problem.
It is urgent.
What yard?
No problem. So how was
Wait,
the crit?
wrong name enter this one.
Anybody here had a not so bad crit?
It's earlier there. I see that.
I said not so bad, right? Hey. Um,
See name earlier.
I hear that you get a new project already.
Sir, we get the new project before we finish the second
Oh,
one. Wicked.
in
Wicked set
true
of people
CSA fashion.
then. Wicked set of people then.
Ah, well, better sooner than later. If everything bungle up at the end, then it will be more stress. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Okay. Well, good news today. I don't believe it's a long class. We're doing SketchUp, right? I'll be showing you some one little trick in SketchUp that you can use in your studio designs. You will find that helpful. Don't tell them you hear it from me. You see, right? Um, I can teach you some shortcuts in helping you to conceptualize your designs. And then I'm going to start you off on the final project. I have given you guys an extension, 1 week extension, and that is because we last week we didn't get to focus on it. Because you guys are working on the portfolio with Miss Oti. So for the next two classes, we'll be doing 3D, and I will be helping you um, with some of the tasks that you will be required to do for your assignment. All right. So, so you see, I start off with good news and more good news, right? So we have not a very complicated class, and you guys getting an extension. That's good news to start with. And you survived Friday. That's what we started. That was the first good news. Okay, so I want to show you guys something. I'm gonna turn on my and I think I'm gonna post this session. This session usually turns out to be more efficient and targeted because this is the second run for me for the day. Okay, so we're gonna be looking on SketchUp. Let me close some files here. I want you guys to open the class website. You guys with me?
Yes, sir.
So if we take a look on the class website, and we're going to scroll down here. Let's scroll down. I think it's on, yeah, it's under unit 3. And we have some interesting sketches here. This is what we used in the previous year. Every year, we keep adding a new one. So this year, I added another one. And here it is. I want to show you guys this sketch. This is my new favorite sketch. Now, why I love this is this accurately represents a quick sketch, something that you would whip up. Maybe you're conceptualizing an idea or something real quick in your design studio. It could just be some kind of work. I'm sure many of us have sketches like this, not necessarily of the same building, but you probably can quickly just mass up an idea real quick. Now, what I'll be showing you how to do is how to do a 3D sketch from an initial sketch using SketchUp, right? And then we're going to look at how we can reuse that sketch for maybe some of your interims or to actually put on your final sheet when you want to illustrate the concepts that you went through. So if you look here, we have 3 different concepts. This morning I did the middle one. This time I'll probably do the end one. But I want to introduce you to a way, let's call it a workflow. Now, when you come up with an idea for whatever you're doing, this initial sketch, I'm going to challenge you to try this out, where the initial sketch that you do, before you try to detail it any further, try to translate what you have into SketchUp and then explore possibilities further. So for example, you would have explored part of your concept in hand drawing and another part in 3D model. So you guys aren't going to draw the model because we're just going to use this sketch as is. Sorry, so you guys are not going to do a sketch, sorry. We're just going to use this sketch as is and create a 3D sketch from this hand-drawn sketch. So what I want you guys to do is to open up SketchUp. Now, it's best that you use the Pro version for what we're going to be doing. So when we open up SketchUp, we'll go to architectural. Let's work with architectural millimeters. Now you can follow along.
You have fun fun. The place cool, brother. You have fun place cool, you know. You ain't so fun.
All right. Good. So this is what your SketchUp should look like, right? And as usual, you start off with this 3D figure here. This figure is going to become very important in what we're doing now. Now let's take a look on our image. I'm going to open that up. Let's see. Righty. Desktop. Okay, here's the image. Let's dot that over here. Let's dot that over here. Now, yeah, so we're gonna try out this one, the one at the end this time. Let me use the other app for browsing that. Let's use the Windows Photo app. There we go. All right, so we're going to try out this one here. Yeah. And what we're going to do, we're going to create a 3D sketch from this. So I give you a minute to just open up SketchUp real quick.
Sir, what is Style Builder? Something like SketchUp?
What is what?
Style Builder.
Style Builder.
Yeah.
We're going to know that answer in a short while. We're going to look at style. Where did I put my phone?
Millimeter, sir?
Yes, architectural millimeters.
Sorry.
No, not you. Okay. Now, when you open that up, the first thing we're going to do is a quick 3D sketch. Hang on 1 minute. Hmm. Okay. Now, I want to show you a couple of things here in this sketch. So the first thing is, if we wanted to do this in 3D, let's notice some of the objects we have here. It's my pen. So we have this kind of building here, which is kind of like the foreground. And then we have this building in the background. And then we have our building here. And then sitting on that building, we have this interesting tower on top. So whenever we want to create things in 3D, I want us to kind of break it down in shapes in our minds and then represent it in a 3D sketch program. Now notice we have a human figure for a scale here, which is going to be very helpful. And what I'm going to do to start off the sketch is use, oops, that's really big. I'm going to use the rectangle tool. That's still too big. Like that. So let's say I'm going to do this box first. And I'm going to use my rectangle tool. Let's just clear that last one. Right. I'm just going to use my rectangle tool. And this looks like this building is about so. And based on the height of this person, I'm going to use my push-pull tool, which is located here, to push it up. So this is about
Sir,
maybe.
your screen is a bit small.
Oh, it is small?
Yeah.
It shouldn't be small. I didn't share my screen. Yes, I did. Oh, you mean, okay, let's go full screen. That's better?
Yes, sir.
Right. Plus I can zoom, right? So I use the push-pull tool here, right? No need to see my ugly face, right? All right. Now,
So what's the size of the base that you mean? Or just a random
that's the
size?
thing. There is no size. Look, we're doing it from a sketch.
Oh, right.
Right. So this technique that I'm showing you is if you have an initial sketch for your concept, just a volume, just a massing, I want you to try out converting that sketch into a 3D sketch so that you can further explore your design options. There's some people who do this and then they print it out again and sketch on top of it and create another 3D sketch and print it out again. And that's the process they use to come up with a design. You guys are going to have your own individual approach to this. So I'm just showing an option that you can build off of. So that's the first thing I created is the base here, right? And this is just an estimation. Now, next, I'm going to create this building over here. That's this one over here. And I'm going to do that by drawing another base. So I'm gonna, now notice, I'm gonna just hover on the edge right here. Just kind of hover right here. So notice I'm getting that red line. That tells me that it is in line. And according to the sketch, it looks pretty close. I'm gonna start there and probably go to about maybe like here. And this one is definitely taller. So I'm gonna use my push-pull tool and I'm gonna make this taller. About maybe that. So you can kind of see we're starting to look like our sketch already. Next, I'm going to work on this one here. And that's another box. But let's use another method. What I want us to do is we could copy one box to another. So I'm going to just use my.
So how you did that thing again where you ensure that it's in the same path as is in the same line as the other.
You hover.
Thing.
You basically what you do is hover from the point that you want it to be aligned with. So I'm going to show you that. So this time around, I'm going to actually copy this box. Let me just select this box here. I'm going to copy this box. Could you talk softer, please? Right. So you're going to copy this box and we're going to use the typical Control-C, Control-V. And paste. And what do you know? You have another box. Now, you're asking about the aligning thing. Now, if I want to align this, what I'm going to do is hover over this point. Don't click, just hover over it and then slowly pull it away. And then it will give you the line. So I'm going to put this about here. It looks like this side is further away. This building is definitely not so tall. So I'm going to use the push-pull tool like that. And I'm going to push it down till about like there. So you can see that we're starting to look like this. Now let's look at this building here that we sketch out here. Remember, all of this started because we have an idea of how tall the building is, because we use this person as an estimate, And then we just use our own sketch as an estimate to get the positions of these, right? So remember, it's a 3D sketch. So we just need to be proportionally reasonable. Let's put it that way. All right. Now let us work on this guy now. Now of course, we don't know what's happening behind here, right? But let's assume that maybe the base of this starts from around here. So I'm gonna draw a base like that. I'm gonna do a push-pull, but I'm gonna now extend this by another push-pull into here. So maybe that's the base. I don't know, I'm just doing a rough estimate. And then from here now, we want to start extruding upwards. So we're gonna do a push this all the way up like that. So essentially we start having our tower like that. Now naturally, you can see that the tower has a like that kind of shape. So we basically need to be cutting something out of it like that in order for it to start looking great. So there are a couple ways to do that. I'm going to show you one way. So one way that you could do it is by using your pencil tool. Let me just respond to this. I'm telling Miss Oti that you guys are still alive. All right, so one way that you could do this is you could draw a line from here. Let's estimate it till about here. And that line would be represented, you know, that is pretty much that line there. Then, she's saying that she's supposed to give you guys some links, Miss Oti. Is that so?
Don't know, sir.
No?
I don't know.
Okay, all right, let's finish this. Now, we would want to start the base from here. Now, this is where we start going into the unknown of our sketch, right? Because we just kind of sketch this out. We don't really know what's happening behind here. Because we're sketching it in 3D, we're forced to kind of figure that out, which is a good thing because it helps you to kind of flesh out your design. So I'm going to join this line to here. And there we have our kind of our sketch there. And then what we want to do is perhaps we want to get rid of here. Sketch this out. Ideally, we would want to get rid of that and get rid of that. You guys following me so far?
Yes, sir.
No, sir, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
So one way how we could do that is we could use our push-pull tool again, right? And remember that is this tool right here. And we can actually grab this edge here And just like how we would push it this way, we can actually push it inward and push it inward until it cancels out itself. By the way, this looks kind of nice, this, this kind of shape here. You know what? I like it. I'm just going to make it stay. But I'm going to cut the top by pushing it all the way over here like that. And that's the beauty when we try to sketch out a sketch that we've done. In doing it, we kind of discover other interesting things that we can do at the same time. So it looks like we have a kind of elevator shaft business happening on the right-hand side. So let's drop that in. So to do that, we could go for the rectangle tool, but why use a rectangle? Let's use our circle tool to make it interesting. I'm going to just draw a circle like that. And then we're going to use the push-pull tool again and just push this up. So that's pretty interesting. And there you have it. It's basically sketching out something from a 2D sketch that we didn't know what's happening for the other sides, but in sketching it out, we were able to visualize it a bit better. We can look around the back, and then we can start to explore other things. For example, suppose we wanted to curve this edge here. We could use like a 3-point curve. You don't have to follow what I'm doing. I'm just kind of highlighting a nice way that you can start to explore your design by doing a 3D sketch. We could do an interesting thing like that. Now it starts to look kind of like some kind of Iron Man transforming headquarters of
Sure, look, it looks like Squidward's house in SpongeBob.
Oh, all right. But you can really, just by doing some basic drawings, for example, we could just drawing this back up to this point here. And we could drawing this around there. But we can really start to explore some interesting shapes because we created a 3D sketch from this. And this is one of the reasons I love SketchUp, is because you can do this so quickly without having to exert much effort in doing this, right? Now, for the assignment, you won't be needing to do a 3D sketch necessarily. So I'm just going to move right into what you will be needing to know. This was just like a bonus item to you guys, right? Now, we are going to investigate another aspect of SketchUp, which is adding materials. So if you notice this panel that you see here, which is called the tray, if you don't see the panel enabled, to enable it, you will go to Window, and then you're going to enable the default tray. See, it's a hide tray. So mine is shown, but if it wasn't shown, then I would have to choose Show Tray. So if you don't have it on, that's what you do. And we are going to go to the Materials tab to expand that down. So from this 3D sketch, now we can actually start exploring like colors and materials, even if it's just for diagrammatic purposes. So for example, let's say that this is some penthouse unit at the top, right? So we wanted to color it a color to say, okay, this is a private space. Then what you would do when you go to your materials tab, you would expand this and you would go to colors, that's here. And you will see it pretty much shows the spectrum going from white, from black all the way to white, and through the color spectrum of the primary colors. So ideally, you should be able to get any color range in this. So let's say we wanted to represent this as an orange. So we click orange, and then we go to our paint bucket tool, which is here. And when we go to the paint bucket tool, we simply just fill in the areas that we want to fill. And it's really as simple as that. So if we wanted to color this section different, for example, if we fill this, all of this will be filled. But if we wanted to color this section different, we would go to our pencil tool, draw a line here, and then go back to our paint bucket tool and fill. So that's interesting. Maybe you want to represent glass on one side. So we choose blue and we fill that with blue. You know, remember this is really a kind of a sketch, and it's kind of like you've come this far with the hand drawing and then you explore further with a sketch. And what some people would do, some people just print this out and then sketch again on top of this. You know, you would choose your own design method, whether you want to explore with your hands in terms of using a hand drawing tool, or you want to just convert to digital and continue exploring this in a digital way. Whatever it is, it's recommended that you have a 3D sketching option. And your options for doing that is SketchUp and Formit. Those are the two quick ones. Preferably it's not recommended that you use an architectural software to do sketching. When you use a program like SketchUp, you're not worried about windows or doors and those things just yet. You're really just considering proportion and massings and volumes. So that is where you apply material, at least color. And to apply material, it's the same thing. You just change it to a material. And these materials are built into SketchUp. If you're not seeing it, it's probably based on your version of SketchUp. So you could choose tile, for example. Choose that type of tile here. And then we can fill a surface with a type of tile. Seeing that? So if you take a look on the assignment, where are you? Here, you will notice that in the final production, it does have material. Let me get you a bigger picture. Go back to the website and click on assignment 1. There we go. Oh, actually, I can show you on the cover page. Notice it has a material here. So you guys will be needing to add material as well. And that is how you would apply materials. Ah, come on. Hold on. This thing just slightly freeze a while ago because I pressed a button. Come on. Oh, Lord. It's coming back. It's coming back. Just let it do its thing. Sometimes when I have a lot of stuff open and I switch to multiple desktop mode in Windows,
All right, sir. If you want to, for example, move one of the rectangular one of the rectangular members, can you like move it, like shift it?
Well, hold on. We're coming to
the
that.
3 buildings. Can you shift one of them to the side?
We are coming to that in the latter part of our practical, right?
Okay.
Right. So this is the application of materials. Now, if you wanted to apply your own materials, then what you would do is you would go to edit, and you will see from editing, you're able to select a color. So let's say I wanted a, I don't know, weird shocking color green. You can see it applied to that. And then what you can do is save this as a new material by clicking the create material button here. And this will be saved as its own material. So I could call this weird material. And if I click save there, then it's now saved. So when I go back to my material, you actually see the material there. W-E-I-R-D, my bad. So if you needed to edit this again, you could just double click it and where you need, you could just create another one there again, or here it is. Let me just correct it. E-I-R-D, right. So that is how you would edit the material there. Now, well, let's you can also pipette materials like in Photoshop. Where are you? In the materials tab, notice you see a pipette icon here. So when I click this, I can actually absorb this material and then I can apply that material there. So that is pretty interesting. That's what you can do there. All right, so that is material in a nutshell. So in a hard and fast way, you can quickly apply materials to your model. Maybe you want to color code private and public spaces, or you want to represent, you know, a particular room or circulation. There you go. It's up to you. Now, another important aspect that you will need to know to finish your assignment is the styles menu. Now, there's a lot of stuff in SketchUp, but I'm only going to show you a few. Go to styles here. Now, if you expand styles, you will notice you see a bunch of options of ways that you can represent the model, right? And this is where SketchUp begins to shine. So for example, I could pick from a list of styles. So let me go to Sketchy Styles. So you are probably on default styles, which is that. So you're going to switch to Sketchy Styles, and let me change white with black ink. And it's still full 3D, but yet it looks like a sketch. Like if you look on the line work, everybody can see that? It looks pretty much like a sketch, but yet it's still full 3D that you can orbit around. There's another one. This looks, so I mean, you could like change this to like a hand sketch, save this out, you know, print it out and show it at your interim and say, hey, look what I sketched. Don't say you heard it from me, all right? But but this is pretty convincing for a sketch. You understand? So, you know, you can imagine how instead of worrying about sketching this out in different ways, you could just sketch this to a particular detail level and then start to explore it in 3D. Now, the beauty of this is that when you're ready to extract measurements, you can, because you can just freely start to draw, and then you might say to yourself, I wonder how tall this building is based on this sketch that I did. Well, you just jump to your dimension tool and take the dimension. You can see that it's 55,000 millimeters tall. And you know, it's a reasonable estimation, because remember that this is the height of one person. So it's a reasonable estimation to say this is about 55,000 millimeters. So the 3D sketching is actually very useful if you learn how to create your own design workflow, and you decide how much of real sketching you want to do and how much of 3D sketching you want to do and how you want to combine those two together. All right. Now, in addition to this, you can create your own style. Let me just choose another style just so you can see the impact. So if I go to like the style builder competition winners category. So if I click on this style, this is kind of like a canvas paper sketch. And that's pretty cool because it even, you can see where it even double up. You know, when you're sketching and you have that kind of double line, you know, it even has that as well. It has this one that looks like a marker, like using a Prismacolor marker, and you've outlined it with pen while using the marker. So these are actually pretty interesting styles that you can use to really quickly conceptually show off your architectural concept. All right. Now, in order to do the assignment, you will have to know how to create your own style. So for example, I'm going to go back to the default style, which is that. When you open SketchUp, it pretty much looks like that. Now notice in the assignment that the model that is shown here, it has no outline. Everybody seen that? So it doesn't look cartoony. Instead, oops, I closed. Cartoony. I mean, it doesn't look, let me close that.
So it's a cartoon to me. I love cartoons.
Meaning this looks more cartoony because it has these outlines.
So you know context.
No, it would be no outline. When you say context.
No, so this look cartoony because none of context. The other one have context, so it doesn't look.
No,
cartoony.
but notice.
All drawings are cartoony on the computer.
But notice this. When you look at this, the line work, you can see where the line work itself doesn't have an outline. Look on the edges here. It doesn't have an outline. Versus what you see in SketchUp here, where these has an outline. So what it is a style of representing your model. And that style isn't a style that is pre-made. You have to now configure that style. So you guys will have to configure that. Now to do that, what you would need to do is go to edit. And this is where you can now change your edges, your faces, your backgrounds, and you can even add watermarks, and you can turn off grids and those things. So for example, you can customize and say that here that the edges, you want no edges, so you can actually turn that off. And when you turn that off, then the edges go away. You can say you don't want any profile, and when you turn that off, the profiles go away. Everybody seen that? So you can enable jitter. Well, you need to enable edges in order to see jitter. And that's what jitter is. Jitter is basically making the lines kind of jittery. You can have, for example, extensions. Let me show you what that is. So let me extend it like 20. You see these extensions that are coming off here? So you can actually edit how the edges are displayed by changing those settings. And if you look, that is what you have at the end. So that is pretty interesting. Now you can also change faces. So for example, you can say you want it to be completely wireframe. And then what you have is a wireframe model. Or you might say that you want it to be shaded mode, or not hidden line mode, where you're not able to see through the model, but at the same time, the model doesn't have any materials. You might also want to change it to say shaded mode, which is what you're used to. This is showing materials using textures, or check this out, X-ray mode, which kind of shows a semi-transparent see-through between your inside your objects. So that's pretty interesting. Imagine you're trying to highlight like something inside of this model, and you can use this mode here. So this style mode, you realize you can completely customize by going into the styles here. And the question earlier was this about the style editor. That is essentially what you do with the style editor. You can create styles and save them, because you might have a particular way in which you want your SketchUp models to look, and you can configure your own style, save it, so that you actually see your style coming up here as a style in this listing. So that is what the style editor is for. Now, I want to show you one other interesting thing. Check this out. So I'm going to turn on back materials here. Now, additionally, you can also change the background of SketchUp. So for example, you can choose to have no sky or sky and ground. And then you can choose the color of the sky and ground. So for example, I'm able to say for sky, how about, I don't know, like an orange sky. You choose that and the sky changes to an orange. You can change the ground to maybe like a deep gray. It changes to the ground there. Or you can actually turn these off and change your background to white, and it will just look like that. Now I want you guys to enable shadows, and where you go to enable shadows is right here. So that's your shadow tabs there. All you need to do is to click it, and then just click this button here to enable shadows, and there you go. You now have your shadows, and you adjust your shadows by time of day or the month. And yes, I know it would be good that you had known this before your climate project, right? Okay, good. But this has to exist somewhere, right? So in order for this north to be true, your building have to actually be located somewhere on a site so you can orient it and hence plot accurate shadows. Makes sense, right?
Yes, sir.
Now let me show you one other awesome thing that you can do. Now I can go to File and I can go to Export as 2D graphic. And you would have done this with your Lego brick. But I want to show you this other option to export. I'm going to export it as a PNG file. There we go. And you all know the advantage with a PNG file, right? Right? What's the advantage with a PNG file? What special trait does a PNG file have? You're muted.
It doesn't have a background.
Exactly. So if I should browse to my desktop where I save this picture, and this is PowerPoint, so I drag this into PowerPoint, then what we have is a nice model here without any background, and it keeps the shadows. That is pretty cool. And look, it even retained our style with all of the little edges with the line work and all of that. And voila, you could have a nice presentation just like that. What happened, computer? What did you do?
Sir, I have a question. Sir, how do you get back the original style that you had?
Okay, so to get back the original style, you would go to the, okay, there we go, right. Oh, before I answer your question, when you're exporting these models, be sure that when you choose File and Export, there is an options dialog box there, and this is where you choose to retain the transparent background. So you have to ensure that you choose this, which is only available in the Pro version. You can also choose the resolution. Remember, if you don't change this setting, it will default to the resolution of your screen. So my screen is not 3000 pixels by 1800, it's less. But what I did was just put in what I want the resolution to be. So you want to always increase that resolution. All right, and you want to enable anti-aliasing so you have nice smooth lines, and you want to enable transparent background so that you can retain the background in a PNG file. So that is all pretty cool. But for your assignment, the style that you need to create is a style that has no outline. Right? So no outlines, no profile. So this is the style that you should be creating for your final.
Yes, sir. Are those the option to make the transparent back?
It's when you it might be a version of SketchUp.
No, sir. I have the Pro version. Right.
So when you go to File and go to Export and go to Options, you're not seeing it?
The only thing I see is the image size, rendering, and JPEG compression.
No, man, you have to choose PNG, I think. Yeah.
Oh, PNG. Oh, sorry.
Right. And then you look in options, it should be there. Because remember, it's only PNG files that would have transparent backgrounds. Okay, so make a note. This is the style that you should be using for the assignment. So there we learn about styles and materials in SketchUp. Now, what I want to do, one last thing before we go. So it's this class is not really going to be that long. Because I need you guys to actually start the assignment. You only have 2 weeks, and next week we're going to be talking about how to do image compositing in Photoshop, meaning put the 3D in a 2D background and let it look like it belongs there, right? So, but you need to have your model for us to actually do that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to start you off on creating the assignment model. Right.
So 1 minute.
Right.
After you choose the shadows and, for example, the time or the date or whatever, when do the shadows appear?
Oh, you have to click the enable button. The enable button is this button right here. Show hide shadows. Right.
Oh.
I have another really good tip for you guys, especially for architecture. Usually in architecture, when we represent what's it called? Entourage. Sometimes we do silhouette. So if I should Google, give me an entourage you want to use. How about human? I don't know. Entourage. Will I get that? Oh, that's pretty cool. So let me go to images and let me apply what I learned from you guys. I'm going to go to tools, color, and choose transparent color. All right, so check this out. Sometimes we want to use these kind of silhouettes here. Right? A lot of times we use these, and sometimes we use actual models. But let's say we want to use a silhouette here. Well, let me show you something really cool with SketchUp. I'm going to save this file as a PNG file. And it's saved to my desktop. And check this out. I can just drag it straight from my desktop into SketchUp, just like that. And it will come in as a billboarded object. What do I mean by that? Meaning it's really flat. If you look at it, it's really flat. So it's like a billboard. Now, depending on how you drag it in, it might come in different. So for example, well, let's scale this because this is just ridiculously big. Right, scale it down. So let's say, for example, I wanted to take in a tree. Well, I had downloaded a tree earlier. There we go. So here is my PNG tree. I can actually just drag it into the scene, and there you go. SketchUp will automatically create a plane and apply the solid to it. But if I drag in the tree and hover over this wall, then it will appear vertical. But anyway, let's say that it's flat and you need to rotate it. Well, then you would grab the rotate tool, which is here. And of course, if you click here to rotate it, it will rotate this way, which you don't want it to rotate that way. So an interesting trick that you can do in SketchUp is to angle your view to where you can see the horizon so that your compass will actually change to that view. And then what you do is hold shift and put it right at the corner here. This is a neat little trick you can use to turn it vertical. Now, of course, to move these around, what you would do is use your move tool and you just click on the object. So I need to I go to my selection tool, click on the object, then use my move tool to move the object around. Here we go. Let's use the scale tool. That. Scale this guy down. Yeah, that's looking more reasonable now. Now, the reason I show you this is when you do your assignment. Oops. There you go. Ah, did I close it by mistake? There we go. Right, when you do your assignment, notice that there are 3 things that you're supposed to hand in. Here it is. You're supposed to hand in the AI file with the 2D trace of the elevation and plan. You're supposed to hand in the 3D model, and if you look in the 3D model, you can see where you have these trees that are here. So this is how you get the trees in. And then you hand in the Photoshop file that has this, which we will do this next week. But what I'm expecting that by next week, everybody should have their model already built. All right. And I don't need to show you how to trace this in Illustrator, because you guys would have done that in exercise 4 already. And you are given the plans to actually do that. The plans are in the assignment file. Okay, great. So you've learned how to do this. Now, what I want you to do, I want to allow you guys to start your assignment now. Now, when you go to the website, notice that on the right-hand side, these are files that are related to the assignment. So you will notice that I have placed a cheat sheet here. I call it a cheat sheet because I want you to feel like you're cheating if you use it. Because I want you guys to figure out how to model on your own. But I have this cheat sheet here. It's called a 3D modeling guide, but it's really a cheat sheet. And if you open it up, what you will see, it's like a guide as to how you can create the model, right? The tricky thing is that because of the pandemic, you guys have an actual video that you can refer to. Because remember, under normal circumstances, you would have come to the lab and then you would have left. There would be no video for you to watch later on. So then the only thing to depend on is this cheat sheet. But now you guys can even cheat more because you can go back and watch the video. That means I should not post a video, right? But
don't be ridiculous, sir.
But ideally,
Sir, why are you calling it cheating? Like,
because
sir,
I'm supposed to just give you this plan.
It can be an example sheet. The cheating is very strong.
Give you this plan, and you're just supposed to figure out how to model it after leaving today's class. Because you would have written down.
Sir, so I have a question here, right?
Yes, yeah, the question.
You're saying it's a cheat sheet. So if I decide to model my model for this into a perfectly cube building with an opening at the front with a glass, nothing wrong. You can't fail me for it because you never tell me. Because obviously I'm supposed to look on this
class. Right, so you have a plan and you have an elevation.
I'm not seeing an elevation.
You have a section. Yeah, you have a section and you have a plan. Oh. Those are the 2 files that you are given. On the right-hand side here, you're given a plan, elevation, and a 3D view.
All right.
And from those, you guys, you would have to draw this. So what I want to do now, I want to get you started on it. So I want you guys now to open a new file. So I'm going to close this file. And I want you to open a new SketchUp file. You're going to choose architectural millimeters because that's what this is in. Here we go, architectural millimeters. And I want to introduce you guys to another way of modeling. Whenever you're modeling and you have a photo or some kind of reference image, I want you from here on out, because of how easy SketchUp is, I want you to download those files. Those are the drawing files. So I've downloaded mine here. Where is it?
Sir, 1 minute before you run. If you want to save the work we just did a while ago. Save it as an
Save it as
SKP.
a SketchUp SKP, right?
Okay.
Good. Good. So I'm going to download the plan. Now, the great thing about this is that because it's SketchUp, I can actually just drag that plan that I've downloaded directly into SketchUp. And right then and there, you have your plan. And I'm going to do the same thing for the elevation. I'm going to download the elevation. And I'm just going to drag it right there in SketchUp. Now, one thing that you notice is that they are not scaled. Because if I measure the width of this dimension here, I use my dimension tool and do that. Then notice I'm getting like 400 millimeters, 450 thereabout. So this is obviously not scaled. So the first thing you want to do is to scale this. So for those of you who are following along, I want you to do this with me. Remember, I'm not going to model the whole thing. I'm just going to push you off at the top of the hill, and your momentum should carry you to completion. Your momentum meaning your enthusiasm. All right, so everybody should have SketchUp ready. All right, now you might say, how do we get this thing to be scaled now? Because we can always use a scale tool, but how do we know what's the actual length? So this is what I want you guys to use for this technique, right? Now I want you to use your pencil tool, and you're going to start from here, and I'm going to draw a line this way. And this line should be 3050. So I'm going to write 3050, press enter. So this is how long 3050 should be. Then I'm going to draw a line from here down, and notice that it's turning green. That is important. That's how you know that the line is straight, right? So you need to look out for that. And this should be 5,500. Oops, I moved it by mistake. Oh man, it's lean. Let me undo that. Let me go again to the pencil tool. Here, 5,500. There we go. So obviously, this is not the correct length. I can get rid of this lady in this case. So what I need to do now is that I need to grab my scale tool, and I'm going to just eyeball this. I'm going to use my move tool, and I'm going to put this back. Oops. Put it back right there. It's a bit too big now, so I'm going to scale it down a little like that, maybe. Have it. Let me use my move tool again. Grab it at the corner here and put it right here. All right, lovely. So it's scaled now. So if I use a dimension line and measure this point to this point, notice that I get 3050, and that is looking like what is in the sketch. Everybody see that? So I'm going to do it again. Let's do it for this elevation. So this elevation should be for 4,707.8. So what I'm going to do is use my pencil tool, and I'm going to draw a line at the base. All right, make sure that it's highlighted in a color. So this is the x-axis because it's red. So I know that it's straight. And then I'm going to draw a line from the center of this, or the apparent center, down to this line. So what this is saying is that this height should measure 4707.8. Of course, right now it doesn't measure that. Right now it's like 14 or something. What I'm gonna do is let's delete this line here. I'm gonna use my pencil tool and I'm gonna start anyway at the baseline and I'm gonna type 4707.8, enter. So this should be about this tall. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm gonna select the shape here and I'm gonna use my scale tool. And I'm gonna attempt to scale this up. And I'm just gonna eyeball it. That's the best that you can do because it is a picture. It's not a vector where you get lines. So it's never gonna be perfect. There we go. So yeah, that looks like about it. Good. Now, once that is there, I can always move this away. And I can move this away. Now you might be saying, okay, why did I scale it and I have dimensions? Because important guys, I don't expect anybody to draw based on tracing this 4 dimensions that you have already. So let me repeat. I don't expect, even though this is scaled, I don't expect you guys to be tracing measurements. I don't expect you to be tracing measurements that is represented here already because it won't be accurate. If I just look at this and draw a line from here to here, it's not going to necessarily measure 3050. Now, the reason why you have this scaled is because there are measurements that you don't have. So for example, what is the distance inside this little storage space? Or maybe it's a utility space. We don't know. So the best you can do is trace it. But I would expect everybody's building for these measurements should be 100% the same. So therefore, when I start drawing, I'm not really basing it off of the sketch. I'm actually drawing based off dimensions. So for example, over here, there we go. There we go. And if I do the math, I can see that 3050 minus 2860 and divide that by 2, I'm able to get the dimensions on each side. I should get 200 for the thickness of the wall. So I'll put 200. I'll go up here like that. I'm just make it a little longer like that. Good. And then I can go here and go 200. And I'll go up here like that. And I could just copy this 200. Now actually, or I could just draw a reference line, or I could use my tape. Remember that tool that we use here, the tape tool, make this 200. There we go. And then I can use my pencil here and there. I can use my eraser tool and delete that line, delete that line, delete that line, and delete that. And of course, from here, I can start push pulling upward. Now, if I line this back up, I'm going to pick that point here and I'm going to line it up back here. That's what it should look like. But I'm not drawing this based off tracing. I'm drawing it based off actual measurements. So you might ask, what about these fixtures inside? You know, what about the sink and the couch and table and the lamp, that kind of stuff? Well, I don't expect you guys to model these. Where I expect you guys to do is to go to the 3D warehouse. So to do that, you're going to go to your website and you're going to type 3D warehouse, and it will take you to the SketchUp 3D warehouse. You're going to have to sign in order to use it. So let's type couch. And you will see a couch here. So let me just grab one of these, coach. Let me grab this one. And look, it's giving you the option. So I'm going to download a 2020 model because I have 2020. You might be saying, what if it doesn't give, what if it gives you 2017 and you have SketchUp 2015? Well, my best advice is to ask somebody to save it down for you. So check this out. Now that I have downloaded this coach, I can just drag it directly into SketchUp. There we go. So that's pretty cool. I can use my orbit tool and orbit it 90 degrees. Let's use the move tool and I can move it in place. However, this couch is really big. So I could just use my scale tool and scale it down diagonally so that it match the drawing here. So that's how I expect you guys to get in these elements here by not modeling it. But the building itself has to be modeled. Now that brings me to an important tip that I need to show you. And I'm going to demonstrate it with some boxes here. All right, so you guys need to take a note here, definitely for this, because this will annoy you while you're modeling. And I don't want you, for those of you who have here, to tear them out. All right? Even more than we probably are already tearing them out. Right, Candice? Okay, so check this out. Now, you can have let's say you have a box like this, right? And I'm going to push pull it, right? Remember, watch closely, guys. This is important. This is called, I call this the sticky fingers act. You know, like how you have acts, like different rules. So in SketchUp, I call this the sticky fingers act. Now, if I have an object like this, and I select the entire object, and I copy it, Control C, Control V, and I paste it, then I have another object here. Fair enough? However, if I decide that, okay, I want to move this object, so I'm going to use my move tool, and I want to place this object right beside this object like here. And then I change my mind. I say, okay, I don't but I want it there. I want to move it. Then when you try and move it, what happens? It's stuck. Right? Hence why I call it sticky fingers. Now in SketchUp, once you make two solids touch, them stuck immediately. They have now fused into one. Even though you see this line here, they are still stuck. So you might be saying that, but that's so stupid. But actually, in some cases, you want that. Now, how you combat this is, what you have to do is you have to make it a group. Yeah? Pardon me?
Yeah, I was saying you just group them.
Right, you just group them. So you will highlight this and you right click and then, but you might notice that you see group and then you see component. So let's make it a group. Now, once this object is a group, now, if I try and move it using my move tool here, paste it there, it will remain as an independent object. Oops. Here, right. It will remain as an independent object. So even if I stuck it right there, it will still be able to move, which is great. So, you know, I can put one there, and I can copy it and paste it. I can put another one there, and put another one, oops, there. I can put another one here. And they're all independent objects. And if I want to edit it, well, I need to use my select tool. And what I can do is just double click here. And I'm able to now go into the tool itself. So I can use like push pull. And, you know, I can do all kinds of modifications to the tool here. There we go. Like that. When I'm finished, I just can use my selection tool and double click outside. And it is still a component. Sorry, a group. So to edit the group, all I need to do is to double click to go inside the group, and then I'm able to make modifications to that group. So that is pretty cool. Now, on the other hand, if I should know, instead of making it a group, I should make it a component, it's going to ask me to name the component. So let's call it box. And now, if I try and copy this and paste, then it will do the same thing again. It will still remain as independent objects. So that is great. And just like the group, I can go in and edit it by double clicking it. But what you'll notice here with the component is that when you make adjustments, what you notice is happening.
Everything is the same.
Exactly. So a component will, they're all tied together and everything mirrors each other and it stays separate. So whenever you download objects from Google Warehouse, so that couch that you saw me download earlier, it's actually a component by default. So, you know, if I copy it, a while ago I was doing a Revit shortcut. So if I copy it here and I try to make a modification to it, and double click here, you know, let's say, you know, just do some kind of badness like that, then notice it will do to all of the objects as well. So that is something to keep in mind, guys. Any object you download will be a component, and for component, your components are mirrored in each other. Now, if you want to turn something from a group back into just polygons, then what you do, you right click and you choose explode. And then now it is back to being individual faces, back to sticky figures. And you do the same for the group. All right, guys. So it is at this point that I would let you build a model. Now remember, if for any reason, because remember this video only teaches you up to this point. So if you're wondering, okay, how in the world am I going to get the windows or the doors? You can, remember that you can cheat by looking on the model guide here. You won't lose marks, don't worry. You will just, you know, it's just your conscience. That's all I'm aiming for, right? Because I want you guys to figure out.
It's a reference. Stop saying cheat. Yo.
So for example, if I look at this now, oh, I actually, right, there we go. So this is how I built it. Walls, that. I don't think I built it the most efficient way. So I don't even think you should follow this method. Oh, got the windows, the louvers in. And what I would be expecting, I would, well, it would be nice that you made your doors a component, but you know, you don't have to. You don't have to. What I'm looking out for in marking, remember this is 25 marks now, guys, right? So we're out of the little 5 and 2% marks. This is a big hitter. So what I've been looking for is, you need to give me a billboarded tree. You need to give me objects inside from Google Warehouse. You need to have materials on your object. You can use any materials pretty much. You can match this if you want, but this should be some kind of wood. Your glass should be see-through. And you know, the outside should be some kind of material, whatever you want it to be. Okay, guys? Okay. And this, and you would submit the SKP file and an image file. And this would be part 2. Remember, part 1, you are tracing it in Illustrator. Part 2, you're giving me this. And in part 3, you're going to put it in Photoshop, which we will do next week.
So, sir, you want the SketchUp file, or you want a PDF of the house itself?
No, if you look on the handout.
Oh, okay.
Right. So what I'm asking for is the Illustrator file and the PDF for the first section. Then I'm looking for the SKP file and a JPEG. And then in the final segment, I'm looking for your PSD file and a JPEG. Okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. So I think you should be okay for now. And look at that. That was only what, an hour and a half worth of class? Or was it 2 hours? No, about an hour and a half because class starts at 4, right? So it's not very long, but I want you for the remaining hour and a half, you need to model this building, guys, right? You need to model this building. Come next week, I'm just going to jump straight into Photoshop. So I would have expect that you would have already had your model, right? And we're going to look at how we can do some of these reflections, how to choose a background. Well, you kind of do that already with the car, hope you remember, but you know, it just call it a refresher. So I expect next week class to be even shorter because, you know, it's like a Photoshop refresher. But usually for that class, a lot of us have like modeling challenges. Like some of you would have already started over twice or 3 times and you meet this part of the model that you can't really pass. I would be expecting that you would tell me that next week. So we're going to dedicate half of the class to just getting that done. To troubleshoot those of you who are having trouble with the model. And for those of you who are moving ahead with the compositing, you can do that in class. Yeah, question?
Mm-hmm. You need the interior wall with the sliding door thing that I saw in the floor plan earlier.
Well, I'm going to be seeing it. Well, yeah, the model need to have it. And I would be seeing it from the outside as well. I remember it's glass, so I would be looking in to see what is there. I'm saying that to say that it shouldn't be wasted. It will not be wasted when you model it. It's not just because I want you to model it, but because you actually want to be seeing it as a mixture between refraction and reflection.
No, sir, I am not talking about the glass door, you know.
No, I know you're talking about the inside.
Yeah.
So I'm saying that, yes, we'll need it. And we will need it especially that when you do your final montage, you're going to be seen inside the building. You follow me?
Oh, okay.
Right. So I'll be looking out for that. So when you put on your reflection, you're supposed to see outside and you're supposed to see a little of inside. You got me?
Oh, yes, sir.
No interior images are required. The only image you will produce is this exterior image. And for the model, you just need to give me an outside view of the model. It's just like what I've posted on the handout. And it needs to have remember, it needs to have the billboarded entourage, trees. You can just use trees. And it needs to have, inside needs to have objects. Okay, guys? All right.
Yes,
so
sir.
I shall leave you now that you can be done with your model. Right? And you will not just switch and go do studio or something else and procrastinate on this model. And next week when I come and say, okay, guys, ready to put the model in Photoshop, people saying, what model? And then the day before it due, which is what, the 3rd, everybody's staying up to model and building and don't remember how to do what. And you know, we're not going to do that. Right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So like you do it a lot too.
Well, let's say I've learned from my mistakes, right? Okay. All right, guys. So I guess this is where I leave you until Monday.
Sir, please remember to read the email. Please.
Your computer.
Please,
Your
sir.
computer.
Please.
Why you do WhatsApp me? WhatsApp me now.
Sure.
I don't have a number.
Sure.
WhatsApp me. For questions
Sure.
like that, for email, I mean, if it's something about grades that you want
Sure.
to record and refer
No,
to,
sir. It's about a computer.
right? So
I don't-
just WhatsApp me so I just respond instantly.
Where can I find your
Yes,
number,
sir.
sir?
It is 869-9594. All right, let's put your 876 before that.
869-9594.
That's right.
Sure.
Yes.
For the CP1 assignment, sir, I just couple hours ago submitted it due to some difficulties.
Yeah, man. You put it in the comments, right?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Oh yes, sir. I did as well. I just
Yes,
got
sir.
on my laptop, and I was put in the comment as well.
Right. So what you'll find is that if there is an issue, I'll use the comment and I contact you directly. So that's how we
Okay,
treat
sir.
those things on a case by case. If it is straightforward,
Alright,
then it's fine and it's marked. But if there's an issue, I will contact you based on what you put in the comments. All right?
All right, sir.
Okay. You don't want me to. All right, so I will encode this and put it on the site. Okay, guys, so we will talk next week. Again. I'll see you and stay safe.